And I'm going to share my screen. No, I don't want that. I can never ever get this to work properly. I apologize. Here we go. We are here. Brilliant. Okay. Hello, lovely ladies. Welcome to today's training. Finding yourself after years of living for others. I'm so glad you're here. I'm really, really happy that you've joined me today. We're diving into something really deeply personal for me, something that we women really don't really talk about, something that we always thought about just being a given thing that we have to suck up and ignore once again, put ourselves on the back burner and do what just comes our way. But let's be honest, shall we? When you've spent years prioritizing everyone else, it's no surprise that one day you wake up and ask yourself, who the hell am I anymore? Am I correct? I really, really need to embrace that. Need you to embrace this. I really believe that the real you did not leave ever. Okay, she's still there, waiting for you to recognize her again. And today we're going to just start bringing her back. How does that sound? Now, for those of you who are new to my world or have not seen a live training before, I am Milou Hilhorst and I'm an empowerment life coach and the creator of the Peaceful Chaos Method group coaching program. I help women, especially those over 40, break free from survival mode, let go of old conditioning, and reconnect with who they truly are. Because I know firsthand what it feels like to wake up one day and think, what the f am I doing? And who the hell am I? Okay, there must be more to life than this. I grew up believing that in order to be loved, I had to be easygoing, helpful, never too much, the fixer, the carrier, the responsible one, etc. I carried those deeply rooted expectations into adulthood, saying yes when I wanted to scream no, putting everyone else first, and constantly worrying about how I was perceived. And anytime I wasn't the good girl, or I wasn't able to be helpful, or I didn't fix something, I felt that I was doing it wrong. Okay, I felt not good enough. And I don't know if you can recognize yourself in this description, but that's basically how I felt. Now, where did it get me? It got me burnt out, lost, questioning my own identity. Okay. And it took a nervous breakdown nearly, well, I think it's 10 years ago now, a nervous breakdown and nearly 2 year long burnout for me to finally wake up and realize that I was not living my life for me. Okay. I was living for others and I was shaped into the person that they wanted me to be. And I see this in so many women that I work with, that I speak to, that I have messenger conversations with. You have likely spent years playing roles, managing expectations, and making sure everyone else is okay. But somewhere along the way, you've lost yourself. You've lost you. But here's what I cannot stress enough and what I want to repeat again. You are not broken. You were conditioned. And there's a difference, okay? Because that means that we don't need to fix you, but we just need to find a way for you to find yourself again and break free, okay? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. How to start reclaiming the parts of you that you lost along the way. Now let's start with a truth that might hit hard, I apologize up front, but I like it raw and honest, okay? For years, you've been putting everyone else first. Your family, your partner, your parents, your job, friends, maybe even kids, yeah, falls in the family, until one day you woke up and realized that you do not even know who you are anymore. Okay? You've done everything right. Right. You've cared, you've sacrificed, and shown up for everyone else. But when was the last time that you actually showed up for yourself? When was the last time that you made a decision purely based on what you wanted? Now, this feeling, this realization isn't just in your head. It's not. It's a result of years, of decades of conditioning, decades of being told, directly or indirectly, that your worth is tied to what you do for others and how well you live up to other people's expectations. But what happens when your kids grow up? Your job shifts, or maybe even your relationships change. Who are you outside of all of that? And this is why so many of us wake up feeling empty, drained, unfulfilled, unhappy, disconnected, because we were never taught how to exist for ourselves. But here's what I want you to remember. Again, I'm going to say it again. You are still in there. You are not lost. You just need to bring yourself back. So let's start that process, shall we? Now, why does this matter? Why does this matter? It's because right now you might be feeling lost in your own life. Like you've given so much of yourself away that there's nothing left for you. Or you might feel guilty for wanting something more. But here's the truth. The real you never left. She is still there beneath the years of expectations, the roles that you've played, and the survival mode that you have lived in. She is just waiting, simply waiting for you to recognize her again. And the fact that you're here in this training today, joining me, means that you are ready to start bringing her back. So today we're going to take the first step. We're going to start untangling the patterns that made you forget yourself. Okay? We're going to break down why it feels so hard to put yourself first. And most importantly, we're going to start reconnecting with what you truly want. So are you ready? Now that we've uncovered the reality of losing yourself after years of living for others, let's talk about where it happened, the moments, the patterns, and the choices that slowly disconnected you from your true selves. Because this didn't happen overnight. It happened little by little, choice by choice, until one day you looked in the mirror and thought, who am I outside all of this? Who am I? And it's not nice when you question that, is it? So let's break it down. Where do you start losing yourself? Because the loss of self isn't something obvious. It's subtle, it's gradual, and it's deeply conditioned. Deeply conditioned. I can't stress that enough, okay? It starts when you begin to prioritize the needs, the expectations, and comfort of others over your own desires and identity. Think back. Where have you sacrificed pieces of yourself? If you feel brave enough, please put them in the chat. If you don't want to do that, just listen, that's absolutely fine as well. But if you give me something back in the chat, I can actually work with that, okay? So think back, where have you sacrificed pieces of yourself? Was it in your relationships? Always being the one who compromises? That used to be me. Always feeling responsible for other people's happiness? Used to be me too. And biting your tongue to keep the peace? That used to be me too. Still need to do that sometimes. Because I'm a flap out. Was it in your family? Did you play the role of the caretaker, fixer, or the emotional anchor for other people? Did you feel like you needed to hold it all together? Did you put yourself last because they need you more? Or it could be very much happening in the relationship that you have or had with your parents as well, where you feel that you were obligated to care for them. Okay? Or was it in your work? Choosing a career that made sense for others, but not for you? Overworking, overperforming, over-delivering, hoping it would prove your worth, or ignoring your passions because they didn't seem practical or they didn't matter. And then it says, in my work, number one, and then in relationships, family last. Diane says, for 30 years, I worked 80 hours a week and sacrificed everything else. Bless you. That's not nice. So slowly, without realizing it, we started adapting ourselves to be what others needed. We were shrinking in some ways and overcompensating in others, right? Until one day we looked around and realized, I've built an identity around being needed. But who am I outside of that? Does this sound familiar? How do you know? How do you know if you've been living for others instead of yourself? Here are some of the signs that you might have lost yourself in the process. This list is not exhaustive, okay? This is just a handful of examples. You might be struggling to make decisions without asking others for input. So you want to make a choice, but before you do, you ask 5 different people what they think first. Or you might feel guilty prioritizing yourself. Every time you take time for yourself, there's this little voice that says you should be doing something productive or someone else needs you more. Or maybe you have no idea what you actually want. That's not uncommon. Okay? The ladies that I work with inside of my program, the ladies that I work with one-to-one, 9 times out of 10, when I ask them the question, what do you want? They are not able yet to answer that because they've never been allowed to think about that. They've never been allowed to dream about that. They genuinely do not know. Okay? You say yes when you mean no. You scream no in your head, but you say yes anyway. So you agree to things out of obligation, not because you actually want to. Okay? There's this pressure of having to comply. You don't want to, but you are doing it though. Or maybe you feel disconnected from the things that used to bring you joy. Maybe hobbies, creativity, dreams. It's like you left them behind a long time ago. You know, a day-to-day example could be that you've been looking forward to this day off for yourself for so long. You've had some time to yourself. And then when it comes to it, you've got no fucking clue what to do with your time and yourself. You just feel all over the place. Does this sound familiar? Now, these patterns aren't just random habits. They're deeply ingrained survival strategies. Okay? Deeply ingrained survival strategies. You've been conditioned to believe that your worth is tied to being good, to being helpful, selfless, and it's bloody exhausting. Am I right? But here's the truth. Here is the simple truth. You are more than what others do, than what you do for others. You are more than the roles that you play. Your worth isn't measured by how much you sacrifice. And you don't have to keep living in the shadows of everyone else's needs. And today we're going to start untangling those old beliefs so that you can step back into who you were meant to be in the first place. And this is the moment where you start shifting, where you start questioning, and where you begin to take your power back. So let's begin. Now, let's talk about why choosing yourself feels so damn hard. Because logically, it makes sense, right? You know you should take time for yourself. You know that you deserve to rest. And you know that you need space for yourself to figure out who you are again. And yet, when it comes time to actually put yourself first, something inside you either freezes or you feel stuck in this tangled webbing that you can see on this slide. Why? Because for years, maybe even decades, you've been taught that putting yourself first is selfish, irresponsible, or even dangerous. Now, the reason it feels so uncomfortable to put yourself first is because you were conditioned not to. Let's break it down. Where did you learn that taking care of yourself was wrong? Let me know in the chat if you can see anything that resonates. Where did you learn that taking care of yourself was wrong? Was it from family? Did you hear in the past? Good girls help others first. Don't be selfish. Your job is to keep the family together. We've done this for you. This is a very, very known one for me. We've done this for you, so you can do this for us. The conditional relationships. Yes, from society. Maybe you've heard before that women are natural caregivers. Mothers, wives, daughters, your roles are to serve. Or you'll be like more if you're easygoing and accommodating. Okay? Yes. Or maybe from relationships. And this might hit hard, so I apologize up front. If you really love me, you do this for me. You're being difficult. Or why are you making this about you? Now, these messages weren't just things you heard, okay? Yes. They became beliefs that you internalized. And over time, you started to believe that prioritizing yourself was wrong. Okay? So, of course, now when you try to say no, when you try to take up space, and when you try to choose yourself, it feels flipping uncomfortable. It triggers the guilt and the fear and the self-doubt because you shouldn't be behaving like this, should you? And it makes you question if you're doing something wrong. And that makes you feel all over again that you're not good enough, right? Now let's go even deeper. Why does putting yourself first feel so unsafe? Because on a subconscious level, your brain sees it as a threat, Because here's what happens when you try to prioritize yourself. Your brain gets triggered and by fear of rejection. Okay? You have the fear of rejection and your brain gets triggered. So it might say, if I say no, they'll be mad. If I set boundaries, I'll lose people. Or if I put myself first, they won't love me anymore. Okay? But your brain also triggers guilt. Who am I to rest when others need me? Or I should be grateful for what I have, and I don't deserve to take up this much space. Okay? Or your brain might even be triggering self-doubt. What if I make the wrong decision? What if I regret this? And what if I'm just being dramatic? What if I'm making this up in my head, making it bigger than it is? What if? But here's what I need you to hear. These thoughts are not the truth. They are survival responses and they are learned fears. They're learned. They're not the reality. Okay? So I need you to take this in. You are not selfish for prioritizing your needs. You are not abandoning people by choosing yourself. And you do not need to feel guilty for taking up space. You are allowed to put yourself first. And I want you to take a moment and ask yourself the following 2 questions. And I'll repeat them after I've said them again so you can jot them down. What is the worst thing that could happen if I prioritized myself? Question 1. What's the worst thing that could happen if you would prioritize yourself? And then I want you to flip it. What's the best thing that could happen? What's the best thing? So I need you to take this moment to jot this down. What's the worst thing that could happen if I prioritize myself? And what's the best thing that could happen? Let me know in the chat if you want to share, please. Because this isn't about neglecting others. And this isn't about becoming self-centered at all. It's about learning that you matter just as much as everyone else. So let's flip the script. I like flip thinking. It's one of my big things in my program. Okay, so every time you feel guilty for putting yourself first, I want you to challenge that thought. So instead of, if I set a boundary, they'll be mad, I need you to try and think, if I set a boundary, I'll be protecting my peace, my space. Okay? Or instead of, I don't have time for myself, I need you to try to think, how can others respect my time if I don't respect it myself? How can others take me seriously if I don't take myself seriously? That's a big one. All right. And instead of, what if they stop liking me? I need you to try and think, the right people will respect my needs. And you know what? If they stop liking you, this is just a sideline from me. If they stop liking you, they were not deserving to be in your life in the first place anyway, right? Now, this is the beginning of your mindset shift. This is the moment you realize that putting yourself first is not selfish. It's necessary. This is the moment that you recognize that your worth does not depend on how much you sacrifice. And this is the moment you start to trust that prioritizing yourself is not something to fear, it's something to embrace. It's something we deserve. Let's talk about the next step. How can you reconnect with what you actually want? Because let's be honest, when you've spent years, decades, prioritizing everyone else, making choices based on what's expected of you and silencing your own needs, it's no surprise that you feel absolutely disconnected from what you truly want. Maybe you've even asked yourself recently, what do I like? What makes me happy? Or what do I even want for me, for my life? What's my purpose? And if you don't have an answer to those questions yet, then that's okay. Because today we're starting the process of figuring it out. Okay? Now, before we can reconnect with what you want, we need to understand why it feels so unclear in the first place. And for years, your choices have been shaped by obligations, doing what you should instead of what you actually want. It's been shaped by people pleasing, making decisions that keep others happy, even at your own expense. We've been shaped by fear of judgment, worrying about what others will think if you choose differently. And we've been shaped by self-doubt, massive one. We second guess ourselves so much that we don't trust our own desires anymore. And what's the result? You have become so used to adapting, managing, and anticipating what others need that your own wants and desires got pushed to the back of the line. And when something has been ignored for long enough, it starts to feel invisible. Correct? So how do you start reconnecting with what you actually want? Step number 1, get curious. I challenge you. Instead of trying to force an answer, start with curiosity. I need you to ask yourself 3 questions, and if you want, jot them down because they're not on this slide. What do you naturally feel drawn to? What used to make you happy before life got in the way? And what have I always wanted to try but never let myself? So these 3 things. So the first one was, what do I naturally feel drawn to? The second one is, what used to make me happy? And what have I always wanted to try but never let myself try? Oh, I apologize. Have we got them? And then step number 2 is pay attention to what feels good. Because your wants and desires, they don't always show up in big, clear moments. They don't. Sometimes they come as small nudges, a spark of excitement, a feeling of peace, a sense of relief. I need you to start noticing 3 things. So jot them down as well. Start noticing what makes you feel light instead of heavy. What excites you, even if it doesn't make sense. And what makes you feel alive. So I need you to start noticing the following 3 things. What makes you feel light instead of heavy? What excites you? And what makes you feel alive? Because again, your desires were never, ever lost. They've just been waiting for you to notice them again. Right? Now, here's what happens when you start choosing yourself again. You stop second guessing every decision. You feel a sense of peace and alignment instead of frustration, and you stop asking for permission to do what makes you happy. Because subconsciously or unconsciously, we've been doing that. We've been asking for permission to do something that we like to do. How silly is that? If we really, really step into this, how silly is it that we ask for permission to do something that makes us happy? It's not right, is it? So what's the biggest shift? You're going to stop living on autopilot. And you can start creating a life that actually feels like yours. But I really need to be real with you because I don't like painting beautiful pictures and then kind of saying, oh no, but it's not possible. This process will feel uncomfortable at first. You will feel guilty for doing things just for you. You might question if you're doing it right. And you will be tempted to go back to old habits because learning to put yourself first is not just a decision, it's a practice. It's a new habit. Does that make sense? So, how do you start taking action today? Step number 1 is start small. I need you to choose one thing that you've been wanting to do, and I need you to do it. It could be it could be as simple as reading a book you love, taking a solo walk, saying no to something that absolutely drains the life out of you. I know, Annette, it's really, really hard. And it's very tempting to go back to the old habits because it's just the easier way. Correct? So step number 1 is start small. I need you to choose one thing that you've been wanting to do and just do it. Step number 2 is I need you to trust what feels right for you. We take our power back here. If it makes you feel lighter, freer, or more like yourself, then that's a sign that you're on the right path. It doesn't have to mean anything else. If something silly makes you feel happy, let it be silly, but let it make you happy. It's that simple. Okay, so trust what feels right for you. If it feels forced, heavy, or like it's just another should, let it go. Cut it out. Cut out the crap, like I said in my email this week. We're going to cut out the bull. Okay? Because life is too bloody short. It's not worth it. All right? And step number 3 is I need you to keep asking yourself, what do I want? Every single day. Every single day, I need you to ask yourself, what do I want? Hell, every single moment of the day. I know it's a lot of things that you need to ask yourself and answer, and it's tiring, but I need you to put yourself first. What do you want? Even if you don't have an answer yet, keep asking. Even if you don't know yet, it's fine, but keep asking. Because your voice, your desires, your needs and wants, they are important. And we need to start seeing them like that. Okay? And because the more you will ask, the clearer it will become. So let me ask you right now, what's one thing that you want to do just for you? Drop me in the comments. Ah, Diane says playing the piano. It's been years. Good girl. Have you got one? What's one thing that you want to do just for you? Diane, get on it. Diane said, yes, she's got one. Get on it. How bloody amazing is that? So what's one thing that you want to do just for you? Let me know in the comments. Because before we move forward, I need you to hear this. I can't stress this enough. You are allowed to want more. You are allowed to choose you. And you are allowed to build a life that feels right for you, that feels good for you. And you do not need anyone's permission to just do it. You do not need permission from anyone. Okay? This is your time to start listening to yourself again. And the fact that you're here today, it's proof to me that you are ready. So what's one thing that you are going to start picking back up or do because you've been wanting to do it but never did? And that says go back to the gym. You go, girl. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on everything that we've talked about today. I'm a bit over time. I apologized. You didn't lose yourself overnight. It happened slowly. It happened through expectations. It happened through the roles that we played. It happened through the obligations we felt, the guilt. But the truth is, you were never really lost. The real you is still there. Beneath all the layers of people pleasing, beneath the guilt, the overgiving, beneath the self-doubt, beneath the version of you that was shaped by what others needed. She's just been waiting for you to stop living for others and start living for yourself. And you know what the good thing is? You do not have to reinvent yourself. You do not have to become something new. You just have to remember who you already are. Does that make sense? Now, I really want to hear from you in the chat. Drop me in the comments. What's one thing you want to do just for you? What are you going to do after this session? I hope that it's empowered you to think about what you want to do, what you want. What is it that you're going to go and do? Maybe it's something that you've put off for years. Maybe it's something small, something that brings you joy, peace, or excitement. Or maybe it's something that you haven't allowed yourself to want until now. Take a moment, write it down. If you're feeling brave enough, share it in the chat because I'm really, really excited for you. Because this small step, naming what you want, is the first step to reclaiming yourself. It is. It's that simple. Now, awareness is a huge, huge first step, but actually breaking free from these patterns, that takes the deeper work. Okay, so if you're ready, I like that, and that coaching with Milou. Bloody hell, that's good. So if you're ready to go deeper, to stop people pleasing, to over apologizing, questioning your worth, this is exactly what we work on inside of my coaching program and in my one-to-one coaching packages. Okay, now inside the Peaceful Chaos Method coaching program, I guide you step by step through identifying and rewriting beliefs that are keeping you stuck, how to set boundaries without guilt, and finally feeling good enough without the external validation. Okay, there's so much more. I can't name it in one slide, but my program is absolutely amazing. Even though if I'm saying it myself, it's really, really is. And for those who prefer to work individually with me, I also offer the one-to-one coaching where we work together to break these patterns in a way that's just tailored for you. If you feel that pull, the feeling that says, I need this, I invite you to reach out. I offer a free, complimentary, personalized assessment to, see where you are at, what you need, what you want. It's free. So please, please, if you feel that pull, reach out to me. You can book a call, we can chat in Messenger, it doesn't matter, okay? Send me a message or drop ready in the comments and I will get you all the details. I promise, okay? Now I'm going to stop sharing, so I'll blow up your screen. I apologize up front. If it's working, it is working. Hello. Now, I know that today's session might have stirred up some emotions. Maybe you're feeling inspired. I really hope that. Maybe you're feeling uncertain about what's next. But that's exactly why Next week's training is all about taking the next step. How to reclaim your self-worth without seeking the external validation. Okay, so if today was about remembering who you are, next week is about owning your worth without needing permission. Before we go, I need to do a couple of quick reminders from earlier today. Check your DMs in Messenger. Likely send you a message already. If you haven't seen it, check your spam or message request folder. Send me a quick hi back so I can send you more free resources. If you do not know how to do this, put Messenger in the chat and I will explain to you how to do it after this training. If you want to stay connected in the Shatter group, you can turn on all your notifications so all the posts will pop up. You can do that in the settings so you never miss a thing. If you do not know how to do that, comment Shatter into the chat and I will explain it to you after the training. Email updates. If you haven't been receiving my emails, check your spam or promotions folder so you don't miss any extra tools and insight. Or if you're not on my email list, send me a message on Messenger and with your email address and I'll add you to the list. There is a new value bomb coming out this week. Keep an eye out in the group for a brand new free resource dropping this week. It will be a video announcement, so please keep an eye if you're interested. And my final reminder, if you want more or deeper support, drop ready in the chat and I will reach out to you. I hope today has brought you what you were looking for, and I hope today I've been able to make you enthusiastic and excited about everything that is still coming for you, because life is exciting. Life is amazing, but we need to be able to see that. We need to be able to work on the things that are keeping us stuck to be able to see them, okay? But you're not lost. You're still there, and we are going to find you. So thank you for spending this time with me today. Can't wait to hear what shifts for you this week. So please let me know. Come back to this chat and we will definitely, have a talk. And I hope to see you next week, Wednesday. Until then, take care. Choose you. And remember, you were never lost. You are just coming back home to yourself. Bye.